Jay Leno. You can drive around and you can like drive loose.
Yeah, on rainy days. These are all Bugattis here.
Is this your only Maserati?
Yeah.
You know, even the Maserati logo isn't all that well known.
No, the Trident.
Yeah.
People think it's chicken of the sea or something.
Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and welcome to My Classic Car. Well, this week we're out in sunny California to visit Jay Leno, one of my favorite places. Jay's always got great stuff, and I think we'll do something foreign today. I'm going to see if I can find Jay.
Dennis, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, you always seem so thrilled. I don't know.
I'm always thrilled to have you here.
I can tell. Well, like I was saying, you know, we do a lot of different stuff, but we haven't done a lot of French cars in the past. You have a lot of French cars.
Yeah, these are all Bugattis here. That's a Type 38. That's the only American-bodied Bugatti ever made.
Bodied by who and where?
That was bodied by Murphy in Pasadena. If you saw the movie Seabiscuit, a man named Charles Howard, he was the guy, and he got pretty wealthy, and he ordered a chassis from Bugatti and had the chassis sent directly to Murphy in Pasadena, and he did this car here. It's called the American Roadster. No top, no side curtains, no running boards. It was kind of revolutionary at the time.
Well, it's also, whereas most of these others are really boat tails, that's not really a boat tail.
No, this was used in a movie called Christopher Strong, starring Katharine Hepburn. She played a young, kind of a hip divorcee, and she drove around, and she met a very conservative guy, and there's all sorts of footage of this car in the movie, which is kind of interesting. But we'll do that one another time.
Fine.
I'll show you some more. And this one here is a Type 37 supercharged. That's 4-cylinder, 1500 cc. Bugattis were sort of the exact opposite of Bentley. Bugatti used to sort of, in a left-handed compliment way, say that Bentley built the best trucks in Europe, and they were they were strong, they were massive, big frame, powerful cars. Whereas these were very spindly, very light. I mean, they literally danced down the road. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Type, what's that? 37?
Type 37.
Is this also a 37?
This is a Type 37 supercharged. This is the car of which the new Bugatti Veyron is named after. Pierre Veyron was a Grand Prix racer. He was a war hero, French resistance. One of those guys escaped from a German prison camp, went back, fought for the French again, was captured again, executed. But when I bought this car, the man I bought it from bought it in 1950, and he had literally drawers of paperwork. I mean, there were file cabinets that came with this car. And being sunny California, you don't really want to sit and go through file cabinets.
Right.
And one day it rained for like 5 days.
Did I happen to be out here?
One of the days, whenever you come, it rains. And for like a whole day, I went through correspondence, and I realized when I found the title and the bill of sale that Pierre Veyron had owned this car. So that kind of made the value of it go up a bit. And we used it up at Pebble Beach, and Bugatti borrowed it to put on display because they had their French, the white and the blue was the color of their new Veyron that they were using at the time. So we had this car to show. So it was
something I never understood, and so many of the cars have this, but it's the cable that runs on these cowls. Why is that? What is that?
Well, this here, the safety wire.
Yeah.
Well, this is what holds the body on. These are those Zeus fasteners.
Yeah.
You turn them and they come up. Okay. So you tighten it. You put the wire on it, you pull it to the next one, so now it can't loosen.
Got it.
So it's literally, I mean, if you cut that wire, it's a bit like a sweater where the, like the old Three Stooges thing with, and that's how having your car held together by a piece of wire now really is not.
Yes, it instills confidence, doesn't it? Now, this is bigger than a Type 37.
Right, that is a Type 35 supercharged. That is the Type 44, that one there. And that one over there, that's a rebodied car. That's the Bugatti Atlantique. It's all Bugatti, except that body was put on later. Ralph Lauren owns the actual one of these cars, which is worth like $35 million or some crazy thing. This isn't worth, of course, anything near that, but it's all Bugatti, and it drives and handles like a real Bugatti, so that's what I care about.
Rebodied when?
It was rebodied after the war. I think it was probably done originally in the 60s.
They referred to these as aero cars, didn't they? I mean, the kind of the aerodynamic, teardrop.
Yeah, they didn't. Other people did.
Other people did?
Yeah.
Was it rebodied in France or?
No. It was by some enthusiasts somewhere along the line,
Beautiful car.
Yeah, they're kind of cool.
So, a lot of French stuff.
A lot of French stuff. Well, everything in here is French and Italian.
I mean, this started life as something like this car here?
The Type 49?
Yeah.
I don't know what body this chassis had, but it had a different body on it.
This out here?
That's your generator.
Okay. Sticking out there like that.
Yeah, generator starter, yeah.
And that's a sweet little Bugatti.
That's a Type 40 Grand Sport. That's one of my favorites.
Got a nice rake to it.
That's got the boat tail. If there was such a thing as a poor man's Bugatti, this would have been it. As you can see.
Oh, beautiful.
It's got twin carburetors.
That's typical of Bugatti, though, isn't it? All this detail work, yes, no? Or?
It is and it isn't. Most of it was done afterwards. If you wanted it done that way, it could be done that way. The reason these have a cubist look to it is not particularly because it's anything artful. It's just that Bugatti were built in a very rural area by farm kids, and it was easier to just make everything squared off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's no head on these engines.
Well, I was trying to figure out where the plugs. I mean, where?
Plugs are on the other side.
Okay.
There's no head on these engines, so you can't blow obviously a head gasket. But you have to go everything. It's a bit like going to the proctologist for dental work. You have to go
everything
through the back.
Yeah, well.
So you really have to come up through the bottom. So to do a valve job on one of these is very complicated. The advantage is you don't blow head gaskets, since there's no such thing.
But this is a very kind of elegant, light,
this would have been a cad's car, sort of a young guy, kind of got a few bucks. Your rich dad would buy you this to pick up girls on the Champs-Élysées and that kind of thing.
Life
and
is good.
That's sort of what it was for. Of course, now if you pick up girls in the Champs-Élysées, you lose half the car. And stuff, but it was a different time.
It was a different time. It was. Okay, so this is a lot of very cool French.
Yeah.
You have some Italian cars, though, too.
Well, what's interesting? I mean, these cars are pretty expensive nowadays, but there's still bargains out there. And like this one over here, this is a 1962 Maserati, 3500 fuel injected. You may have seen this car up in the rack when you were here last time. It's funny how prices go on these things. This car was put in a storage unit in 1981, and it sat there for 30 years. And for whatever reason, the guy just stopped paying on it, and after 18 months, it was sold. So I bought it for $25,000. It was painted. The engine did not run. Fuel injection was really screwed up. Brakes were seized. I mean, it needed a lot of work. I had originally been looking for a DB5 Aston Martin.
Which this looks a little bit like.
Well, the interesting thing was, I found a DB5. I took the guys down to look at it. It was so rusted beyond, it was beyond repair. Right? And eventually sold for $186,000 just because it's an Aston Martin. And it's a six-cylinder with a ZF box, Salisbury rear end, Girling brakes, Lucas Electrics. This car is a 12-plug six-cylinder, more horsepower, fuel-injected, ZF gearbox, Salisbury rear end, Girling disc brakes, Lucas Electrics, Lucas fuel injections, and it was $25,000. This car was $13,000 in 1962.
Which was a lot of money.
A Rolls Royce was 13. A Ferrari was 13. An XKE Jaguar was a little over 4,000. So you almost could have gotten 3 Jaguars for the price of this. Yet for some reason, this is one of these cars I think that will just go up tremendously in value in the next couple of years. I mean, I've put a lot into it, believe me, but you can get into exotics reasonably if you get away from the mainstream of the Ferrari and the
what
Lamborghini.
Everybody's going after.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of stuff is out there. I mean, it was painted this color.
And so you haven't redone the paint?
No, we didn't do anything to the paint. We redid the interior. It had white leather, which is a little, I don't like white leather. When you work on steam cars, white leather, not a good idea.
It's not white for long,
but,
actually.
we did the wheels, the brakes, the tires, we went through it. And it was an air-conditioned car, but the compressor was gone, so we put our vintage air in it.
Yeah.
Those guys are great. We put their stuff in all our cars.
It works.
And as you can see, it's a sexy-looking motor.
Oh, man. That is pretty.
The real tricky part was doing the fuel injection. Most guys rip the fuel injection out and just put Webers on.
It's a pretty wild-looking setup, is it? I mean...
Yeah, it's a mechanical fuel injection setup by Lucas. I think the fuel injection is what saved it, because somebody got fed up with it, put it away.
Enough of this. I'm not going to... Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, we literally had to pull the throttle bodies out, rebore them, do it again, make new butterflies.
So how big an engine? How many liter?
3.5.
3.5.
3,500.
And what parts are aluminum? I imagine the hood,
the
deck
hood,
lid, maybe?
This is all steel. This is a production car. It's not, this was the car that Maserati decided to make money with. And they were pretty successful with it. I mean, it's a real high-speed, grand touring car. Got all kinds of goofy little features in it, like this back window opens.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
A back wing window. Is a front wing window, too?
Yeah, front wing, too. And it's got electric windows. which doesn't sound like a big deal now, but it was in 1962. I believe this is the first Italian car to have fuel injection in a production model. It was a 5-speed. Don't forget, in 1962, Corvettes were still standard with 3-speed. Mustang had a 3-speed. The 4-speed was optional. This had, oh my gosh, 5 speeds. 5 speeds. So this was pretty exotic back in the day. Twin cam, 12 plug.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty exotic.
You did redo the interior, but...
Yeah, we did the interior, did the carpets.
Yes, it's interesting, too. Kind of the square tunnel there is kind of a different look.
That's exactly the way it is. This is the way they came. My main thing is you can get into these cars fairly cheaply. They're not cheap to work on.
Yeah.
But if you're resourceful, I mean, a Maserati for $25,000.
That's a pretty good
I know
deal.
that's still a lot of money, but not for a classic car like this. Because, you know, it costs just as much to restore a worthless car as it does a valuable car.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have if you bought this for 25 grand and you put a lot of money into it,
you might
this
get
is probably worth $250 now.
You might actually get it back.
So to me, when you're redoing an old car, find the most valuable old car or the rarest old car you can for the cheapest price, because, you know, how many guys put 50 grand into a Mustang, then they have to sell it for 35, you know?
Yeah. So this has a chance of actually appreciating.
I hope so. I know I appreciate it.
and I do too. Is that the cigarette lighter there on the
Yeah,
side?
that's very, you know.
Right there, because you want it handy.
Have that cigarette right there in the ashtray. You gotta have that.
And kind of a back seat, you know, kind of.
This is a 2+2, but it does have a back seat. But let's take this thing for a ride.
Oh yeah, let's do.
You can see the race breathing in the engine. It's all in the high revs. Wow. See, it likes to pull. I mean, our Mustang pace car is having a tough time keeping up.
Go figure. And why the dual plugs?
Because that's what their racing engines had. And better spark, better flame, what's the word, propagation, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
This is 240 horsepower, which was a lot in 62, especially when you consider it's a pretty light car, 2,700 pounds, and it had as much power as most V8s. Back in the 60s, the 6-cylinder in Europe was like the V8 was here. That was their high-performance motor. V8s really did not play a role in European cars.
No, not at all.
You know?
Yeah, this was definitely a find.
Huh?
This was a real find.
Oh, yeah. But you know what's out there? You just have to look.
Yeah, I've always liked Maseratis. I think they're just a little different.
Yeah.
You know,
And this is definitely a different kind of car.
and dual overhead cam was, you know, not uncommon at all in Europe, but almost unheard of in the U.S.
Yeah, except for Duesenberg.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised it's got a 5,000 red line though.
Yeah, it should, I think it's a little higher actually. It's 6.
It really makes you know, kind of comes alive there.
Yeah, she does.
So you're rolling along in fourth at
I'm
about
in third.
Third at 4,000 RPMs.
You don't even get near fifth. Fifth, you'd almost
I mean, it dropped down to 3,000 RPMs.
80 and fifth's about 3,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty healthy.
That's good, yeah. I mean, it's really a high-speed touring car. You get it up, you know, 100, it settles right in.
It has a very Euro feel, you know, just the sound and everything.
We're gonna switch.
Certainly my favorite part of the program. You know, you jump into a different car several times a day, almost.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
but is it? I mean, is it tricky to, you know, kind of keep your?
It is, because everything's, especially in the steam cars, because the switches in the same place do different things.
Yeah.
Put your foot in a little bit here if you want.
That's a nice feel.
Yeah, but you get used to it. It's more vintage than you're used to.
Yeah, I like this. So until our next meeting, remember, honor the timeless classics. I'm Dennis Gage. Happy motoring.